adult language and discussions. If you're easily offended, do not continue.
We would be honored if you would join us.
How are you feeling? Your latest workups on your condition indicate that all damage has been reversed. Recovery is total. I believe you have been quite fortunate. No further thanks are necessary, Commander, but you are most welcome. It is my function and pleasure as a medical droid to help and heal human beings.
I am a Jedi, like my father before me.
All right, hello everybody. We are back for yet another adventure from the Star Wars show from the Bacta Tank. The Star Wars Rebels edition. And today we will be discussing the season finale, Fire Across the Galaxy. Episode 13, I believe. It is. Yes. That's the official. I think we can finally say it's the end of the season, and that is the official episode number. Because I know we were discussing that every single site says something different. Some site says it's episode 15. Some site says episode 12.
Well, because everyone's confused about the movie.
Yeah. So I think we can finally say that is indeed episode 13. And of course, I'm in the studio here with David Sabal. How are you doing today, David?
How's it going, everyone?
And of course, Dustin Lucas.
Hello, hello.
Hello.
Wah, wah.
Yeah.
Wah, wah.
Okay. Now, hey, you guys notice that I ended the show now with the what the fuck?
Yeah. It's so awesome.
All right. So before we break down the season finale, we have a few, not news, but a question. I want to start this show off with one of the biggest questions. This is something that we have discussed since in the 5 short shows we've done for Star Wars Rebels. Okay, we've discussed this at least a handful of times already, and of course we've also discussed this in other Star Wars shows. Biggest question, the burning sensation between our legs, Dustin and David. Is Ezra and Kanan gonna have to die? Okay, and we've kept saying this. Now, with the introduction, I'm just going to blow my load here. Of course, Ahsoka did make an appearance, which we're going to break that down way in detail in a moment. But first, okay, you have Kanan, Ezra, and Ahsoka, who arguably can't really take a pivotal, like a role, an important role in the Star Wars universe after this point in time.
That's true.
Where are they? The Rebel Alliance no longer is in factions. As we even saw in this episode, they kind of became united for the first time, which was fucking epic.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Yeah. Okay, it was so good. And so it leaves that question, are they going to die? Or can the writers of Star Wars find a very careful way to show them exit the story for a short time? Okay, can they go on some mission that might seem a little forced and heavy-handed? Something that gets them out of the picture. Okay, that's the question. Number 2 question that really has, I guess I had to find, surprisingly, a lot of the Star Wars trolls are vacating the premises now, meaning it's hard to find as many complaints about Star Wars Rebels as there were at the beginning.
Yes.
Because Star Wars Rebels, let's just say this, Star Wars Rebels is by far a huge success and a win for Disney and Lucasfilm.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah, it is.
So, there's not a lot of trolls, but I did see part of the question was Yoda. And somebody was bitching about that, let's be honest, nobody cares. Dave Filoni's talking, I guess in the interview, Dave Filoni's discussed about Yoda. And the circumstance that created by bringing Yoda into this Star Wars Rebels as a cameo and then introducing him and letting him know that he's now aware of 2 other Jedi. Okay, and I put air quotes Jedi because they're not Jedi. I think they've already said that, and I think that answers this question I'm about to ask. Does it mess up already stated canon where Yoda told Luke when he died in Return of the Jedi, when I die, the last of the Jedi you will be? Okay, now I don't think a lot of people really keep hearkening back to that statement and saying, well, Kanan, they messed up canon unless all of them die, unless Ahsoka and and Kanan and Ezra all die, that's going to prove incorrect. And it's going to mess up Star Wars canon and what Lucas already laid out with Yoda.
No, it doesn't. I can tell you right now that it doesn't, because Ahsoka gave up being a Jedi
right.
at Clone Wars.
And look how she introduced herself. She didn't even introduce herself. And how she introduced herself wasn't even, I'm Jedi Knight. I'm Ahsoka Tano.
Ahsoka Tano.
So, and I think that answers the question. I think people are kind of reading into it a bit much, but let's say, I think Kanan and Ezra, one of them will die eventually, but I don't think Yoda lied. And again, it's what is that constant? It's from a certain point of view.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's a cop out, because people say, oh, that's a cop out. Oh, the certain point of view line. I'm like, you know what? I don't think it's a cop out, because, and then we'll go around the room here and figure out what your guys' thoughts as well. But my initial thought is, I mean, if you read the Star Wars Rebels book, the New Dawn,
yes,
it states throughout the entire book, Kanan never was a Jedi.
Yeah, he doesn't consider himself a Jedi.
He was a Padawan that had to run. He never became a Jedi. Oh, and then you have Ezra, who, I mean, I don't think a non-Jedi can train a Jedi. I don't think Ezra will ever be a full Jedi at this point.
Yeah.
Unless they decide to create some new Jedi Order, which obviously we know hasn't been started yet. And it won't happen.
Yeah.
Because even when Luke pops up, there is no small Jedi Order. So in my opinion, I think these are two renegade Force wielders who could be Jedi but aren't.
Yeah.
And I think that answers the question right there. What do you think, Dustin?
I think they're going to die.
Do you?
Yes, I think at some point they're going to become too powerful to even... I mean, look at Ezra already. I mean, he's more than a regular Jedi Padawan, and he's not even technically a Jedi Padawan.
Right.
But as the Inquisitor was saying when they were interrogating him, he keeps calling him Jedi, saying, what do you think of this Jedi? What was the last thing that your master said to you, Jedi? Yeah, the certain point of view thing, I guess you could put it as that. I mean, Yoda and Obi-Wan lied about all kinds of shit.
Yeah.
And
that was intentional. That wasn't, hey, I'm going to try to fix my writing errors with, hey, more training for you, Obi-Wan. You could talk to Qui-Gon. It wasn't like that maneuver.
Yeah.
That was in a trilogy where everything was laid out for Lucas, where he said he planned that as Obi-Wan, hey, from a certain point of view, Darth Vader did kill your father.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So... yeah, I get what you're saying. I mean, I guess he is calling him Jedi, but in the sense, are they Jedi? That's, I think, where I get into it, and I think that's where do you think we're gonna have to? Because obviously, if Dustin is thinking that, and I'm thinking one thing, and you're thinking one thing, David, do you think that at one point here the writers are gonna have to tackle this question directly and say we're not Jedi, or we are in fact Jedi?
They got to do.
Actually, I don't think so.
Or do you think they already have? And Dustin's right. Have. They were, but then they are Jedi then.
Because if you think about it, most of the questioning that people have been that have been posed this question, they don't know the actual full history of everything that was Star Wars.
Right.
Because anybody that loves Star Wars and has looked into it knows that even after Return of the Jedi, we know that there's other Jedis out there because of the books. Because of all those. Now, those are considered legends, right. Yes. So we're supposed to disregard that, right?
Yeah.
But even during that time, then we should have been saying that we should have been posing this question a long time ago,
right? Because
there should be other Jedi. Well, why, if Yoda said that the last of the Jedi you be? But the way I took it was like Luke was quote unquote formally trained by two Jedi masters.
Yeah. So you're going at it from the point of view.
Yeah. Ezra's not trained by a Jedi Master. I'm sorry. When Kanan literally came out and said his master told him to run.
Yeah.
And because of that, Kanan gave up being a Jedi before he even became a Jedi.
Yeah.
He was a Padawan.
Yeah.
So just because
you're going at it as they're not Jedi, kind of like Jedis. How I'm saying.
Yeah,
okay.
Because there are we do know that there are Force wielding people.
It's
out
a
there.
rank as well, right? Would you call Jedi a rank?
Yeah.
Okay. Because one thing I also thought and I know this is maybe getting way too involved in this, but okay, look at one thing I always like this little line by Mace Windu when they were trying to figure out who tried to kill Padme, and they alluded to it being Dooku, and Mace Windu's all like, he used to be a Jedi, Jedi, it's not in our nature.
Yeah.
So he used it. Did he not use the term he was a Jedi?
Yeah. You can be a fallen Jedi.
Yeah. So I don't know. It's definitely good. I do think they're going to have to tackle it a little more directly for people who have those types of questions. They can't they can't leave it up to the point of view. I think they're going to have some point in this new canon, maybe not in Rebels, but somewhere along the line, they're going to have to tackle that question as to why did Yoda say that? Because that is an important, epic line.
It is an important, epic line, but I mean, like, do we have to always have everything spelled out?
Yes.
Yeah, I agree.
And see, I'm like the opposite. I'm like, no, I don't think we do.
I do agree with David when it comes to. I do agree with you, David, when it comes to yes, in typical television shows and movies. No, I'm not one of those people that need things spelled out. When it comes to something like this, where you're dealing with Star Wars canon and and all that's been laid out, and there's so much history, I think, yes, that it can't be ambiguous. You can't leave it. Now, can you leave certain storylines open to ambiguity? Yes.
The thing is, too, is kind of like, well, you can also say that when Yoda says, no, there is another, he could be meaning that there are other Jedis out there. Yeah.
No,
Obi-Wan,
he says another Skywalker.
No, he says there is another.
When?
At the end of
Empire
Strikes Back, he says, no, there is another.
Yeah, now we're splitting hairs, though.
Yeah. But the same thing.
I get what you're doing.
That is splitting hairs too.
You're trying to throw a wrench in my theory here.
Well, that's why.
All right.
That's why I was saying that I think they have to die, because what are they going to do?
Yeah.
Just hide out in the Outer Rim and nobody knows about them after they become so powerful? I mean,
I'd like to see Ezra go to the dark side.
Yeah.
You find out that there was a theory that I read that actually said that what if Ezra is the villain in episode 7? And that would actually be kind of cool.
All right, you know what? On that note, let's just jump into this. Let's jump into episode 13. All right, so Fire Across the Galaxy in the 13th episode, in the 13th and final episode of the first season of Star Wars Rebels, the episode written by Simon Kinberg and directed by Dave Filoni. So it was the two powers of the entire series that did this, and boy, did it show.
Oh,
yes.
It was so good. Premiered on Disney, okay? The episode continues the events of Call to Action and Rebel Resolve, with the Rebels on a mission to rescue their leader, Kanan, from the Galactic Empire. A battle takes place between the Empire and Rebel forces above Mustafar. Darth Vader and Bail Organa return, and Fulcrum's identity is revealed. So first off, we start up. I think the episode, I was actually getting a little worried because the episode started a little slow. I'm like, okay, we got to get to the meat of this. Like, what's going to happen? And we didn't get into the meat of it until like 15 minutes in almost. Before I didn't even write notes down until 15 minutes in.
Wow.
Because it wasn't really a lot going on. They were kind of setting up and alluding to what was going to happen. But first, let's start with let's start right where the story starts getting really good. Okay, and the Inquisitor is once again interrogating Kanan. He knew who he was. He knew his who he really was. Now, did you guys get that, or was that just him toying with him? Because he actually said his Jedi Master's name.
Yeah.
So did that lead us to believe that he's the one who actually? I mean, Inquisitor couldn't have been the one that killed him, right?
No, because the Inquisitor makes the comment when he first runs into Kanan that he could tell who trained him from his fighting style.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, and he also said that he sucked at it, basically.
But he also said, "What did she tell you to do?" Like he heard.
That was
like
weird.
He heard. So now, some people, if you read the New Dawn book, this is getting so confusing. As we move along in these shows, we're going to keep going, well, in New Dawn, it says this. But that's the story they're telling, man. It's a massive multimedia story. So we have in New Dawn, it actually showed when it talked about specifically when the fall of Jedi happened is when he ran.
Yeah.
Which the fall of the Jedi and being told to run, that obviously was when, could that have been when Anakin was killing all the Jedi? Or do you think it was later on when the rest of the Jedi were being hunted down? Do we remember where was he at the Coruscant?
It was actually, looking back at it, it's very ambiguous.
Okay. So it could be the Inquisitor's actually the one who maybe put the obviously Darth Vader was the main guy, the main spearhead in conquering the Jedi, but I felt, and correct me if I'm wrong, Dustin and David, did you guys feel that the Inquisitor was the one that directly was involved in the murder of his Jedi master?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
I think they were killed, like, his master was probably killed elsewhere. Maybe even by just the clone troopers.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
It was just public knowledge, maybe.
You think?
That's probably what it was.
Or maybe he extracted
and maybe
it from
he's
him.
just playing with the fact, like, hey, we already know that you ran, and that's probably what she told you to do.
Yeah. Because if you think about it, the way he was talking, he was trying...
Because she did say that in the New Dawn. She did say that in the New Dawn. She said run.
She said run. But the thing is like, the Inquisitor could simply be just trying to get under Kanan's skin. You got to remember, he was using the dark side of the Force to try to interrogate him.
And for all we know, he could have been doing something with the Force to kind of pull some of his thoughts. I don't know.
Yeah.
So
it's never really explained what he was doing interrogating him.
he was playing with his balls, dude.
Well, they always do that to us anyway in the Star Wars universe.
He was doing what the CIA does to our. Oh, sorry, Dustin, and our troops do to some of the ISIS.
Oh my god!
We want to know where your base is, and we're going to figure this out by tugging on your balls. Yeah, that doesn't work. Hey, listen. There's two chances it's going to come from that. A, you're going to come, or B, you're going to spill the beans. You know what I mean?
She told me to run. She told me to run.
Exactly. Okay, so now he also I kind of liked it showing that because the last few episodes, the show, I don't want to say they made the Inquisitor look stupid, but they made him look a little bit incompetent because they had to show Tarkin is the power, the mind behind everything, yeah. and they wanted to give Tarkin a real strong introduction. He had to bitch slap everybody.
Yeah.
And for the last couple episodes, it's felt like the Inquisitor just is like, damn, I'm really fucking up. But then we see in this episode, he's quite a bit more aware than we were led to believe. First off, he knows a Fulcrum, obviously, which shows that they already know for a fact there are rebel cells out there, and they even know of their leader, air quotes here, of their leader Fulcrum.
Yeah.
So I kind of like that little bit, that the fact that he knew more than we even knew.
Yeah, that's a good point, because it's never really explained how they got that information.
I mean, you got to remember, there's other rebel cells. I guess we can assume there's other Imperials going after other rebel cells, and maybe they got information out of people.
And Tarkin actually did say that basically the only thing he knew about the rebel cells, but the only thing that really did scare him was if all of them united, which unfortunately happened in the very end. Yeah. So that ruined his plan. But I'm guessing that basically that's just common intel.
Yeah. Now, one thing that I did like, a funny element that usually, again, I'm not forgiving of comedic relief in the middle of a scene. I know it's Star Wars, but I actually like this line. I don't know, when the stupid TIE fighter flew in, and I actually found myself chuckling because the stormtroopers, oh, hey, that's not against regulation. And that other guy's, I kind of like it. I'm like, oh, Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Like, here we go. I actually chuckled a bit. So I do have a sense of humor for all you people who think I'm an evil person for hating on the fucking droids, because the droids were nonstop jokesters. They're like the Three Stooges times 20.
This one, they kind of skidded the line with the humor in this one, but they did it okay. It
reminded me of a line from Stormtrooper 1 a little bit. Maybe that's why I liked it. It reminded me of my character, Stormtrooper 1.
I mean, the only one that made me just like face palm was actually in the very beginning when they blew up that area with all the TIE fighters and everything.
Yeah.
And like the stormtrooper looks at, well, here, not again.
Yeah.
And I'm like going, that's almost droidish.
Yeah.
That's really almost like
I'm not against the fact of just keeping the stormtroopers silent.
I'm like, really hoping they would.
Yeah, I don't talk. Do we need to hear them talk?
No.
I mean, Dustin, do you think we need to hear them talk, or do you like the talking?
No, shut the fuck up and do your job.
Thank you.
Look at Dustin, spoken from the mouth of a soldier himself.
What? They shouldn't talk.
Yeah.
It does. I mean, like, the stormtroopers are always been seen as these badasses. Once they start talking, it ruins the illusion that we have for them.
And I mean, if you want to, I know, and this may be them trying to changing the the direction of the stormtroopers. This may be what, with episode 7, how we're getting a female stormtrooper now, and we're getting a black stormtrooper supposedly, if he's in fact a stormtrooper. And this could be them kind of leading up to that, trying to make the stormtroopers more personable, more characters than just, hey, we're the silent soldiers in the background. Because think about it, if they ever do want to show stormtroopers in any way, let's say they want to make a spinoff about some renegade stormtrooper, they're going to have some type of face besides silence. Otherwise, I don't think we're ever going to really care. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but I don't know.
I think maybe they got to start showing them have a personality. I don't know.
Yeah,
not goofy.
Yeah.
Don't make
yes.
them goofy.
Yeah.
I don't think that they should. It should be like, hey, TK-47, are you going to TK-42's party tomorrow? Like, how's the wife and kids? No, shut up. It's yes,
Shut
sir.
up.
No, sir. Shut up.
I agree with that. I mean, the naval officers on the ships are pretty serious, and they, you know what I mean.
And that's the thing. Yeah, it's like
you know what? That's a good point.
And the officers are kind of like badass.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think that again, this is on Disney XD, and they're probably they got to give something to the kids, but I don't think we need it. I think Chopper and Zeb are good comedic relief, and Ezra, they do very well with them three together with the comedic relief, and it's not over the top. Sometimes it is, and I think if they kind of leave it for them and just leave the Empire alone, and I kind of agree with some of the trolls who they say, I don't think they've made the stormtroopers look like bumbling idiots necessarily, but I do see in a less aggressive way, I see their point. The trolls, like, why even bother with the Empire? Just let them be. Let them be. This isn't the droid army. Let them be the stormtroopers, the silent troopers.
Yes, sir.
Proton torpedo. I like that scene as well. They're calling it a pulse, but in the old days, I don't even know what the new canon or the old non-new canon, I guess you want to call it.
The legends.
Yeah, legends. They call it the proton torpedoes. Basically, did that.
Yeah,
they're basically a pulse explosion. I like that, man. It kind of brought back the Empire Strikes Back feel, where remember when they're escaping Hoth and everything shuts down and the ships start dropping in. Yeah, dropping. So I kind of like that, and it also shows that they have this whole entire episode led to the Rebel Alliance looking like a true military force.
Yeah.
Well, they're a terrorist force.
Yeah.
I mean, look what they did. They parked a TIE fighter, which is basically a car bomb, in the hangar bay and detonated it.
Look at Dustin, dude. Breaking things. He's going to give us a debriefing. You want to give us a debriefing at 0400 hours?
I don't want to be up at 4 a.m. Fuck that.
Yeah, why not? Oh, Jesus Christ. Hey, a trooper's always ready for a debriefing, right?
Always. I don't even know what I'm going to talk about, but yeah, I'll just BS through it. Got a PhD in BS, man. You know that.
But Das brings up a good point, though. I mean, about the whole making them truly look like a terrorist group. Because think about it. This whole season, we started with a comedic, kind of like a ragtag band of rebels.
Yeah.
And just like what you said earlier, it's kind of like they were goofy. They did like little
stealing food and giving it to people. Who gives a shit?
And suddenly now we have car bomb.
Yeah. Yeah, I did like that. And you know what? That's one thing as a kid. I remember I kind of awoken to this storyline as a child. I got to be like 12 or 13. And, as a kid, you don't really think about Star Wars, being like, rebels. The rebels. And I remember putting it together when I was a kid. I'm like, rebels. I'm like, wait a second. I'm like, rebels are bad. Rebellion. Rebels, you're taught to believe is a bad thing as a kid. And you're like, the Empire is the established government. And this is when you're a kid and you don't think, okay, imperialistic behavior isn't good, it's tyrannical. So you're a kid, you're thinking, black and white. And I remember as a kid thinking, so technically they're the bad guys. And I like that they're staying true to, yes, they may be the moral and ethical ones, but they are a terrorist group fighting against the established, government order.
They're the ones that are on the run.
Yeah, and I do like that they're sticking to that, leading back to what Dustin said. I like that they're staying with the true sense of a rebel force.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do like it. Or an insurgency.
An insurgency.
If you will. So let's just jump into the best thing of the entire show. The Inquisitor's death and the fight scene leading to it. And I put death here as, we'll decide if he truly, quotations here. Now, first, let's just discuss the death first, okay? Let's go backwards. That line, when he says there's worse things to fear than death, obviously he's talking about Vader, right? The failure that he is about to have?
Yes.
Do you think that's what he's talking about?
Absolutely.
Okay. So, now, if Inquisitor in fact dead, I'm okay with it, even though he's fucking awesome, dude, and I wanted him to survive, because that's what Star Wars does. They kill all the cool people too soon. And
that's how I felt. It was like Darth Maul. Watching Darth Maul die.
Dude, it's Darth Maul, Count Dooku dying in the opening 5 seconds of Revenge of the Sith, Boba Fett dying down a fucking Sarlacc pit in like the opening 10 minutes of Return of the Jedi. I mean, they kill every epic character they kill. And where was I? Oh, yeah. So what I'm thinking is, they're sticking Dave Filoni's doing just to, serving, being just to George Lucas's plan of action and what he's laid out, and said, listen, you know what? The end of a storyline, which this I would definitely, dude, the way season 1 was wrapped up was definitely an end of a chapter. For sure.
Well, yeah.
And maybe Dave Filoni, and since he loves George, that guy worships George Lucas, maybe he's playing tribute to what George Lucas laid out. The true feel of Star Wars is at the end of a chapter, a bad guy dies or something drastically happens. And maybe he says, hey, chapter 1, guess what? Somebody awesome dies.
Yeah. It makes sense.
And that's the sad thing about it, is when I was like, no, he's not dead. He's not dead. And I'm like, you know what? Darth Maul was dead. And I remember thinking the same thing. Like, yes, I know he was brought back to life in Clone Wars, but he was dead. And I remember thinking, oh, he's going to come back in Attack of the Clones. And he never did. So I don't know. What are your guys' thoughts? Do you think he's dead, Dustin?
Man, it is Star Wars. You never know. I mean, he could have felt... I don't see how he could have survived. But, I don't see how Anakin Skywalker should have survived other than, his Durasteel armor suit. I mean, you never know.
Yeah, that's true. Could have fell into a garbage chute.
Well, he did. He fell into the reactor, right? So I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, that's what I saw. Did we actually see it, though? Did he actually see him fall into the reactor?
Looked like it.
Well,
looked like it to me.
I mean, the reactor was right there, so chances are...
He fell into the fire.
I mean, he broke his spine and maybe flipped on the other side. I don't know.
It's just a flesh wound. Don't worry.
Now, fight scene. The best fight scene we've seen in Star Wars. I have to say, maybe not the best fight scene in Star Wars, but it's coming damn close in this episode.
Dude, I think it was the best, especially when...
In Star Wars?
Dude, he used the blaster.
Yeah, that was pretty badass.
That was badass.
That was the coolest thing I've ever seen.
Out there that love... sword fighting, like the lightsaber sword fighting, always thought, why don't they just use a freaking blaster in the middle of a fight? Yeah. And they did it right here. If you look in the past and everything, they never did it.
Yeah. What were you saying, Dustin?
Oh, I agree. It was the coolest fucking fight scene I've seen, pretty much, in Star Wars.
And the way Kanan defeats him is actually really badass too.
Well, it makes sense too. It's common sense, dude. Just stick the fucking lightsaber. It does make sense. And interpretation here. When Kanan when Kanan's fighting the Inquisitor and Ezra, like a pimp, pulls a lightsaber. Look at him using his head finally, dude.
Yeah.
And pulls the lightsaber and decides to use it. Now, was the Inquisitor talking to Ezra, or both of them saying now there's two of them against him when he said, finally, a fight worthy of my time? Was he talking about fighting Ezra, or was he talking about that there's going to now be two of them against him?
Both of them.
Both of them.
Okay, time.
Ezra was terrified. When he was fighting him, every time the Inquisitor would step, to thrust towards him, he was wrenching back, man. He was terrified.
Yeah.
There's no way he could have beat the Inquisitor. He was just helping out.
Look at the dark side thing, though, man. He was scared when Ezra called the beast from under the ground. Remember that? Like, he was shocked. The Inquisitor was scared. That's the most fear that we, to this day, to this point in Star Wars Rebels, I think that's the most actual, like, what the fuck emotion the Inquisitor showed in his face. Kind of like fear, like, oh shit, what did I just
what did I do?
What did I just unearth? You know what I mean? Like, what did I just scraped the surface of some dark side, like, power that Ezra is wielding deep within. So that's what I got from it. I don't know.
That was awesome.
No, I did get that. You do get that element in that episode where Ezra taps into the dark side. But honestly, I really do think that final scene where he says that it's finally a a fight worthy of my time is because both of them have decided to fight them together.
Yeah,
both of them.
Because
both of them, Dustin. Both of them.
Both of them.
Both of them.
Don't go nowhere. More Back to Tank is coming right up.
Don't miss a very special Star Wars From the Back to Tank, when we welcome John Jackson Miller, the writer of the Star Wars Rebels prequel, Star Wars A New Dawn.
It's not the new EU because the old EU was never canon according to the way that they've described things.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the thing is, I wasn't approached to do that. I was approached to write a novel that would be a prequel to the Rebels TV series that would be set in between Episode 3 and Rebels, telling about the Empire in this period and what it was like to live in this time, and also showing the first meeting of the two Rebels principals.
Yeah.
But there wasn't anything about any change to the process, or rather any change to the canon described to me then. And why did they do this? It's very simple. It's because they want to make sure that they have as much room when they're making these new movies. Not just 7, 8, 9, but also the standalone movies that they're talking about doing. They need to have as much freedom to tell the best story that they can.
Yes. Go to RainManWasHere.com for more details. All you Android phone users out there now have a reason to rejoice. The new Rain Man digital app is now available in the Google Play Store. Simply search Rain Man Digital and download the app today for free. And now you can take the entire Rain Man Digital network anywhere you go. Supernatural The Crossroads, The Rain Man Show, Star Wars From the Back to Tank, Critique Revolve, and Weird West Radio, all in this app. Also, we have our two 24-hour radio channels, RM001 and Crossroads 003, also included in the app. So when we broadcast live, you can now listen to our live broadcast directly from this app. Go to the Google Play Store and download Rain Man Digital. Just search Rain Man Digital and start listening.
You're listening to From the Back to Tank on Rain Man Digital.
Oh, man. So, slow motion shot, anybody? Is that the first time we ever saw a slow motion shot in Star Wars ever?
Oh, you mean when
Inquisitor jumps back and into that over the panels, and there's the blaster fire and then the lightsaber. Have we ever seen a slow motion shot?
That
ever?
was almost Michael Bay. I was like, what the hell?
It was cool, but at first it did throw me out because the first thing I said was like, wait a second, was that a slow motion shot in Star Wars? Because I don't think they've ever done slow motion ever. I don't think George Lucas believes in over cranking the camera. Period. Have we ever seen a slow motion shot in Star Wars? Correct me if I'm wrong here.
Yes, Empire Strikes Back in the cave.
Oh,
that's right.
Yeah,
that is right. That's right. And that was the only time when. That's right. Okay. But I guess that served a point. But he never ever did it during action scenes ever. Really? Oh, yeah. I guess no. The whole thing was in slow motion, wasn't it, Dustin?
Yes,
in the cave.
Yes, it was.
Huh. Interesting.
You could call that an action shot.
Yeah, but it was definitely for a purpose. It was intent. It was, a lot of times filmmakers, and George Lucas is kind of old school thinking. Maybe that's why a lot of times, especially old school filmmakers, don't believe in doing anything, crazy.
Yeah,
like over cranking or under cranking the camera. I should say no, under cranking and over cranking, which is fast and slow motion. They don't believe in doing stuff like that. Or moving the camera unnecessarily unless it's motivational, like to motivate some type of emotion in the story process. So I guess that would make sense in Empire Strikes Back for him to utilize it at that point.
But this seemed just really random.
Yeah, it did. It kind of like I was kind of wondering why.
But you know, it didn't take away anything from the fight, though.
No, I thought it was cool. I just was wondering why they decided to do it.
Why not?
You know,
I think it's a stylized choice. I think nowadays people like that slow motion. I mean, there's a reason why people kept going back to seeing Transformers.
Ugh.
Yeah, I mean, at least he didn't do that bullet time thing from like Matrix and Spartacus and all that stuff.
With the blaster bolt going towards the Inquisitor's face slowly, and then he like dodges it.
And it pans all the way around him.
Yeah, and he's all, whoa.
Whoa.
You are a Jedi.
Oh, that would have been fucking great.
Oh man, if Michael Bay wrote it, we might have gotten that. Something like that. Okay, now let's just go again to another high point when the rebels are escaping and they're getting out, okay, and the Inquisitor dies. And they all get out, TIE Fighter, Inquisitor, TIE Fighter. Like, dude, Ezra does have a little bit of a dark sense of humor.
Yes.
Like, and that's why I'm wondering what's in store for his character.
Yeah.
I mean, okay, look it, dude, people are dying. They blew up a fucking Star Destroyer. Star Destroyer. They're trying to get out of there. And Ezra makes a joke about taking the Inquisitor's TIE Fighter.
Yeah.
And I started laughing because I was like, that was kind of funny, but it was more funny when Kanan brought attention to it.
Yeah, and he basically says, you are starting to really scare me.
Yeah, I like that. They're giving Ezra something very different because, yes, Anakin, again, using somebody in canon that's dark, that went dark side. Obviously, there's thousands of choices we can go to in the Star Wars universe, but I'm going to stick to canon here. I mean, Anakin played with the dark a lot, like even in Attack of the Clones when, you know, he's flying the speeder after the bounty hunter with Obi-Wan, he's like laughing because he's going like at a straight vertical level down, and he's laughing. You see the chuckling. He was more dangerous. It was different. Like his darkness was more dangerous, and he flirted with danger. Yeah. Whereas Ezra is kind of like lackadaisical. His sense of humor is dark at times. This is the second time we've seen something like that. And I don't mean dark like he's evil, but he's definitely laughs in the face of danger in a different way than Anakin does, if that makes sense. Laughing at it and flirting with it are two different things. And I think Anakin was more of flirting with disaster. He needed it. It was intoxicating. Whereas Ezra, he takes it more into a sense of humor type of tone. Does that make sense, or am I just like talking in circles here?
You do have a good point, because like there is a difference between Ezra and Anakin, because Anakin was kind of like this abrupt, I'm suddenly, you know, I'm going to be the strongest Jedi ever type of mentality.
I promise you.
Yeah, let's forget that scene. But Ezra's more like a gradual thing. That's why I like Ezra's, because it's more natural.
Yeah.
You know, you expect a person to be kind of like this. He's maturing because he started off as a kid.
Yeah.
And because he's a kid, he's going to mature as time goes on.
Well, Anakin started as a kid too, but we never saw it. So we saw him go from irritating Annie to I'm obsessed with Padme Annie, you know, so.
And then I will be the strongest one of them all and start crying.
Don't make fun of Anakin, dude. Annie! All right, so leading to this best scene. Okay, so we have the rebels getting way off subject here, but we got the rebels escaping, and like, why? Why is Chopper steal every scene? I loved it, man. Because you think Chopper did the whole like he escaped, like he like left them, and
peace.
You know what? Yes, I don't think he actually did, but at the same time, it's believable that he would leave them, because he's kind of like, fuck you guys. He just killed a droid last episode, for no reason, threw the poor guy out the window or out the airlock, but.
And even his crew basically said like, oh my god, he really did leave us.
Yeah, and then he just flies in, dude, flying a freighter. You know, with the entire Rebel Alliance, which was, dude, I'm not gonna lie, man, I got some chills, and I got a little bit of tears in my eyes. I was excited, dude, like when the Rebel Alliance came flying in, and as the Rebel Alliance, because immediately that's what I got. I got the nostalgic feeling of, this is the Rebel Alliance, the first official gathering of the terrorist cells gathering together as an alliance and fighting, and just how they just kind of swooped in like the old Star Wars movies, and they just swooped right out. They rescued them and then flew out. It was kind of a Han Solo moment, dude. Yeah, honestly, you know, like, you're all clear, kid. You know, it was one of those moments. Which to this day I can watch that scene and just
over and over and over.
Yeah, and my penis gets hard a couple times.
A couple times.
I thought it was cool. It was the Ghost, and it was 3 Carillion Corvettes just come flying in. I was like, it's Organa.
Yeah. Oh, that's what I thought too. I was like, well, Fulcrum. I guess we go know who Fulcrum is. But and again, threw us through another loop,
through a twist.
Which that's some good that's some good writing, man. In a kid's cartoon, really, it's simplistic. Yes, it's not like layers on layers, but for a kid's cartoon, it's pretty damn good writing. Not gonna lie, you see the Star Destroyer dropping in the background above Mustafar, which is just beautiful. Okay, that whole scene was just gorgeously animated. See it dropping, then you see the Alliance come in, fly them out. Then we meet, of course, Bail Organa, which I think we're led to believe that's Fulcrum for a moment. Like, okay, Bail Organa makes sense, and I kind of like that even Kanan didn't know who he was, and it makes us feel like we're in the know, like we're privy to the information. Oh, dude, we knew Bail Organa's part of, it does. It kind of makes you feel like we have one up on these people. We know they don't. And then, of course, the big reveal was Ahsoka. So we finally got to see what happened to Ahsoka, and I'm sure the Clone Wars fans are just, going crazy over and excited to see that she's in it. But it does, as I said at the beginning of the show, it does lead to a big question. Where is she during episode 4, 5, and 6? And how much is she? And how much knowledge does she have? Meaning pertaining to the fall of the Jedi. Because this is the first time we've seen her, correct, since Clone Wars, right?
Yes.
We don't know anything about her during the events of Revenge of the Sith or after, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. So this is an important moment in Star Wars history, man. This is important.
Well, everyone after I watched the season finale, I looked at all the forum boards and everything, and everyone was basically saying they want to see a fight between Ahsoka and Vader. That is the number one thing everyone wants to see.
That's dangerous, man. That's dangerous.
The thing that everyone wants to see, and I'm like going, I don't know if you guys want to see this one.
If it happens, she needs to, it would have to be her dying, because she's going to find out through the Force, because obviously Jedi and Padawan have a connection. She's gonna be able to tell it's him. She's going to feel his internal struggle, something pertaining to the fact that he knows who she is, because they had a good relationship. It's as far as we know, it's Anakin's only apprentice, correct? Or as a Jedi Knight, Padawan, correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
Ahsoka was the only Padawan that he ever took.
Yeah. So that's important, man, and it scares me a little bit when you introduce something this big into the world of Star Wars. It gets me scared a bit, because they have to be so fucking careful, man. And I'm sure they already have it all written out according to the Lucas. As we keep hearing, the Lucasfilm Story Group has everything written out pretty much now, up for a few years. So I think they already know what's going to happen with Ahsoka. But I'm nervous.
The thing that makes me nervous is the fact that I don't want this to take away from the other characters.
Well, that's part of it. That's part of it. But why not? Yeah, okay. This is one character I'm okay with her becoming part of the Rebels, because the reason, I'll tell you why, David, and you guys can disagree with me if you want in a moment here. Okay, how we've kept saying we don't want Lando, Han Solo, Princess Leia, and yes, we want them as cameos, but do we really want to introduce these major characters from the universe into this show? Because number one, it takes away from them a bit, putting them in this, in my opinion, as an ongoing star. And number two, it becomes dangerous when you start toying around with Han Solo, Princess Leia in this particular show. Meaning it could, start creating canon issues. But with someone like Ahsoka, there is I think her coming into the Rebel Alliance, at least as maybe a 4 or 5 episode arc season type person, I'm okay with it. I don't think it'll take away from them. I think it will aid the story. And also it'll bridge the gap of Clone Wars. And obviously a lot of people know, if you listen to if you go to any of the Clone Wars forums, people say the way they left us hanging, even though they gave us those Netflix episodes, the unreleased episodes, it gave us a bridge that just kind of dropped.
Yeah.
And I think this is a nice way for them to connect the series together in a complete way and kind of give both audiences a little bit of closure by including her into the story, at least for a couple seasons. I mean, don't make her the main point. Ezra's the main point. Yeah. And I think Ahsoka's words at the end, solidified that. They're not trying to take away from them, but she addressed Ezra directly.
Yeah.
Which in my opinion, to the audience, that means a lot. The fact that she addressed him and not necessarily Kanan. Okay? And obviously we already know Ezra is arguably the main star of the show.
Yeah. And also it kind of solidifies the fact that the thing that really threw me off was the fact that Hera knew everything.
Yeah. Well, she's a strong woman, David.
Well,
she's a strong woman.
we need a strong woman.
Makes you lead to believe? What leads you to believe that she can't know this? You think only men can know? I'm just joking. I'm just being facetious here. No, I totally get what you're saying. I like that too. What it gives her something to do, because some complaints that we've heard about Star Wars Rebels is Hera's she's kind of taking a backseat.
Yeah.
And, she's the pilot of the ship. That's her role. That's her ship. She's the boss. And the boss, the captain, sometimes doesn't leave the ship, and it's her ship. She's on board the ship. If the ship's involved, guess who's in it? She's involved. But when they're leaving off planet and doing Jedi stuff, of course Hera's not going to be involved in that. So I'm happy for the most part with what they've done with Hera. I'm looking forward to learning a little bit more about her.
Same here. I do hope that they do more with her in the second season.
Sabine, I can care less, really. I think she's an interesting character, but I don't think it's very vital for us to learn more about her. Zeb, it would be interesting. I think we learned a lot with him and Agent Kallus, about the death of his people and all that. It would be nice to learn a little bit more here. I
was disappointed they didn't do more of that during this season.
We have more seasons, and I think by season 2 we're going to be getting, I think, double the episodes that we got this year. I think so.
You bring up a good point. I mean, I don't know where they could take Sabine's character. I mean, it's obvious that
she's an artist.
It's obvious that she's supposed to be connected to Ezra. But
yeah, they are.
Besides that,
I think in the season finale, I think in the series finale before it's over, I think they should fuck and then fade out.
And then Disney.
Yeah.
There's just an orgy on the ghost.
So stupid. And then the castle pops up, little Disney castle.
Disney castle pops up.
Wait, that's the More You Know. Never mind. That's the More You Know song. What's the Disney song? I'm not going to sing it. Okay. So next thing we have here is Tarkin and the closing scene, which, again, another awesome moment, man.
This was my favorite scene.
It was it?
It was.
Okay. So
I was like going, now we're going to see how good they are.
Yeah, man. Vader, I wanted to see Kallus piss himself a bit more, because when Tarkin comes out, and I love that line of Cal. That's another thing. I'm a little sad that I like Kallus, and yet he's kind of taken a backseat the last 6 episodes.
Yeah, it's the same thing like Sabine. Kallus and Sabine are the 2 characters. I'm like going, where are they going to go with these?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think he's the evil person of the. As I said a couple episodes ago, I can't sure if it was David or Dustin I was talking with on that episode, but one of you guys. I was saying I don't get the sense that Agent Kallus is evil. I get the sense that there's people, as I was saying, there's sometimes soldiers are soldiers because they were born on the other side of the border.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That it doesn't mean they believe in the cause. I'm going to kill every Jedi because they're sons of bitches, and I'm going to murder all these kids. Like, look at Agent Kallus's face when the Inquisitor killed his men.
Yeah.
He wasn't happy about it, and I think it was more than fear. It was like, shit, you just killed our own men. You executed 2 of our men right here in front of me. Whereas Inquisitor smiled. You know what I mean? So I think there's a big difference between Kallus, the Inquisitor, and Tarkin. Tarkin is a full-on drink the Kool-Aid believer. Okay, and he's maniacal and evil.
Yeah,
I don't think Kallus is. I think he's just a standard soldier, but it would be interesting to just kind of, hopefully next season. Yes, he's not the main person, but it would be interesting to kind of explore his character a bit more and find out if he has drank in the Kool-Aid. Is he a full-on Imperial believer, or was he one of those guys that just was born on the wrong planet and became, to serve his planet?
Yeah, he's a company man.
Right. So getting back to that, Kallus to me had that face where he's okay. What's this? What's going on here? And I like how he delivered the line to Tarkin about there's people talking in Lothal that the Empire is weak, which is dangerous. That's going to lead to if they have a full on planet revolt. That's the worst thing that can happen to any type of government or empire. And I think that's what we're going to see in season 2, man. I think that's going to lead to a big storyline. I think we're going to see the first official planet that might be actually freed from Imperial hands.
I don't maybe freed, but I'm like going. I think with the appearance of Vader, we could see like the first planet that becomes the symbol of like the rebellion, that look what the Empire did to them.
Yeah, you know what?
Where
you're right.
They
it
just
could
come
go
and
that
genocide everywhere.
Yeah, it could be. You could go that way for sure.
Because you got to remember, I mean, like, calling Vader, we've always been saying, if they call Vader, that means shit's going to get real.
Yeah.
And people are going to die.
But can you see Vader staying on Lothal?
No.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I think he's going to go there.
Only if the only reason why he's staying there is because the Emperor told him to.
Right. Because this is and I like it because we've been saying this the entire season, that the Darth Vader can only come when something crucial happens. And I would definitely say this is a major win. I mean, you had the Rebel Alliance probably for the first time in this war between the Rebels and the Empire finally cohesively as one unit did a huge strike against the Empire.
Yeah.
That's the first time I'm sure of it, because it didn't Tarkin say that they haven't been what's it called in that one episode?
They're not united.
They're not united. So they saw for the first time united Rebel front. They took down an effing Star Destroyer, his Star Destroyer.
Yes.
Okay. They took down Tarkin's Star Destroyer. That's a major win, and I think this is that point where we've all been discussing, where if Vader makes an appearance to help out, it has to be important. And I think this is it.
Yeah.
This is that important.
This is the turning point.
And I would agree with it. I think it's definitely a vital point where he would, in fact, in reality, in this type of government, in an empire, where you would send in your best.
Yeah.
This is a major thing.
Now I'm worried that I hope that this doesn't devalue Vader and Tarkin now, because they're in season 2.
Yeah, that's
they're
true.
In season 2 now. That's pretty quick to bring in 2 heavy hitters.
I don't think we're going to see much of them next year, dude.
You think they're going to introduce a new villain?
Yeah. They'll bring somebody new or bring in another Inquisitor. I mean, we've kind of been leading on false rumors. I mean, rumors that may not prove to be true. The only news we have on Inquisitors is from rumors of episode 7, is that there's lots of Inquisitors. We don't even know if that rumor's true. So we've been operating this show with that line of thinking there's lots of Inquisitors. We may not even know that. This may be just one person.
No, that is a good point.
We don't know, or there may be more. I mean, as we said before, Inquisitor is a title, right? Not a name. So who knows? I think of course, our answers are. I think our questions will be answered pretty soon in the start of episode 2 or season 2, which hopefully we'll be able to watch if we attend the Star Wars Celebration. We'll be able to see, on time. So, final thoughts. Let's go around. Let's start with Dustin. Dustin, what's your final thoughts, man, on this episode?
This was my favorite episode of the entire season. Yeah. The fight scene, glorious. And I'm sticking by that. It was the best lightsaber battle I've seen in any of the movies. The story, I'm actually so intrigued for season 2, and I'm glad that they made it that way. Like, it didn't just fizzle out at the end.
Yeah.
Really happy with this show. So as for this episode, definitely dip the foot in the back to tank. A 1 minute.
Whoa. All right. Okay. David.
I'm going to agree with Doss. I'm on Doss's bandwagon. I do think that this was probably by far the best lightsaber scene we've ever seen. It beats episode 1 by far, just because of everything that was going on at the same time. And I really like the addition of Ahsoka. That really got me pumped. My favorite scene by far definitely is Darth Vader, because they didn't make him talk. Vader didn't talk. You just heard him breathe.
That was smart.
And I thought that was genius.
Yeah.
Because he's when in the very end, the one thing that gave me chills was Tarkin telling Callus that, the Emperor sent someone to deal with this problem, and then you hear the breathing.
Oh, it was so
and you're
good.
going, they just did not bring him. And then you see him just come down, doesn't say anything, just keeps walking. And you're like, you get that sense that Darth Vader is a little pissed because he had to come here. Kind of like Tarkin. Tarkin was angry when he got summoned to this backwaters planet. Now imagine a very angry Darth Vader. So, and plus he lost one of his Inquisitors. He's going to be very upset because that's one of his agents. So that has me really intrigued, because I'm sorry, I'm a bad guy. I love the bad guys in Star Wars. I love the Empire. seeing Darth Vader and actually seeing them use him properly was awesome. And back to tank, I would do a full minute. Full minute in the back to tank. Just leave me there. In fact, leave me there.
No, hold on. No, you don't do that. You don't want to stay full on. If you stay in the back to tank, that means you're injured. And it was a bad episode. This episode injured you.
Yeah.
So you want the less time the better.
Less time the better.
Yeah.
Less time the better then. So
only 1 minute. You don't want, if you go more than 4, that means it's a bad episode.
That was a bad episode. Yeah. So 1 minute.
Yeah, maybe we should change this rating system. I think it's confusing everybody. It confuses.
Am I in the back to tank? Am I out of the back to tank? What the fuck's going on here?
Maybe we'll do like I don't know. I want to do something related to back to, but whatever. All right. So maybe back to shots. Maybe we'll do something like that. Oh, stupid. I don't know. All right. All right. I guess, after making fun of Dustin, I have to say it is the best episode of the season. You dick. I have to agree. I mean, there are elements to each episode that I really enjoy, but I think this episode had it all, man. It did what, first off, Dave Filoni has done a great job in paying tribute to what George Lucas has done before. And I think in some ways, man, he's going to be looked at as the lesser George Lucas. I mean, he's in charge of Clone Wars, which was a hit to a lot of people. Now he's in charge of Star Wars Rebels. That's taking the freaking world by storm, man. More people like this than they like Clone Wars, and Clone Wars was arguably a success. So he's gonna be. This is his crowning achievement, man. Star Wars Rebels. So thus far, and he's done a great job staying true to George Lucas, but also fixing some of the Lucas issues that we've seen in some of the prequels. He's done some certain things a little bit better. He's taking the best of both worlds and meshing them together and giving us a fantastic adventure that's worthy of Star Wars, feels like Star Wars, and to see the form of the Rebel Alliance. I mean, as a season finale, it did come a little sooner than I expected, but the way we saw how they finally connected, I could have asked for it to be executed in a better way.
Yeah.
You have Chopper leading the charge, just great. I mean, so good. And then you have Bail Organa, so okay, the Organas are in fact involved in the Rebel Alliance, which also answers the question as to Princess Leia. Obviously, we'll start seeing her involvement probably sometime in Star Wars Rebels. We see what happened to Ahsoka to a degree. We see that she's back involved, that obviously someone as powerful as herself and who has a good heart can't stay away from the trouble, meaning, yeah, she walked away from the Jedi Order, but she came in the time of darkness to aid and help.
Yeah.
And it says so much about her character. Ezra's storyline has gone full circle in one season, man. He came from an irritating kid to being actually interesting.
Yes.
Kanan just keeps getting better. The only down point I say would be the Inquisitor's death, only because I like the Inquisitor. But looking at this from a technical standpoint and not from a fan standpoint, I have to say the death served a purpose, and they did a good job with it.
That's the important thing, as long as it served a purpose.
Yeah. So I'm gonna just dip my balls in the back to tank.
You're just gonna tickle them.
That's it.
Awkward.
I'm just. That's all I'm gonna do. I don't think I need to put my whole body in there. ISIS damaged my balls, and now I'm just gonna, not ISIS, the American troops did. I'm gonna put them in there. So stupid. All right. On that note, that is it for the show today. Thank you for listening. If you miss any part of our show, you can always find us on Stitcher, Smart Radio. Just search Star Wars From the Back to Tank, and we will see you next season for the Star Wars Rebels edition. Later.
Womp womp.
This is Stormtrooper 1, and if you've missed any portion of the show, you can always head over to FromTheBackToTank.com and listen to the show at your leisure. We're also on Stitcher, Smart Radio, Stitcher.com, search BACTA, and add us to your favorites. Thank you, and listen responsibly. And may the Force be with you.